Now back to the Bears Den with Drake Toll and Jamie Pickell for the Blonde Boys Power Hour.
Welcome back into the Petty Clinic Low T Bears Den. Happy Wednesday, everybody. A little bit of May 12th action today, talking all things Baylor athletics. Men's tennis off to Orlando this weekend in the top 16, the old Sweet 16. You got softball and baseball both in action as well. Track going to the Big 12 championships. Women's basketball, new head coach. Men's basketball still on that recruiting trail, pulling out transfers left and right. And now joining the show, the biggest moment of the week, Jerry Hill coming on with us. Jerry, what's going on?
Try to bring what I got, you know?
Hey, look, you're bringing the heat. And that at least we can accept. Jerry, I mean, it's been a long couple of weeks talking women's basketball higher, baseball, what baseball's doing as of late, and then you're following softball, track, tennis. I mean, it seems like everything, it usually quiets down this time of year, and that just hasn't happened.
Yeah, it was funny, Drake, because when I was working at the Waco Trib for 25 years, it seemed like the fall was that busy time because football was my main beat, and man, it was just like, 24/7 with football and just, so I was slammed in the fall. But really, since I've come to Baylor, and this is my 13th year at Baylor, there's really not a slow period. I mean, the spring seems like it's even busier because you are dealing with a lot more sports and stuff. And certainly this year with, the women's basketball change, with men's basketball winning the national championship, and just so many of the sports doing really well. Like I said, men's tennis headed to Orlando tomorrow, and we'll play, I believe, Ole Miss on Monday. So yeah, there's a lot of teams going and blowing, and I was there for all 17 runs of that fifth inning with baseball. So yeah, it's been a fun time.
Jerry, I do want to ask you before we get too far in the interview, did Baylor men's basketball, did they win a national championship still? Is that still real?
Dude, they won a natty. I mean, they won a national. And I do have to kind of pinch myself sometimes, like, oh, wow. Men's basketball won a national championship. It wasn't Duke, it wasn't whoever, whatever blue blood you want to say. It was Baylor this year. Baylor hoisted that trophy. So a lot of fun, man.
A lot of fun, a lot going on still. And Jerry, I'll tell you, it's the oddest thing to me. Baylor basketball wins a national championship, and the numbers do great. A lot of folks are excited. There's a lot of buzz. And then Kim Mulkey, women's basketball, Nicki Collen, there's a 2-week period where Waco just burns to the ground. I mean, everything, it just went crazy. From your perspective, with the entire situation, is there any way that we could have seen this coming, the transition out of Kim Mulkey and into a new era of women's basketball?
No, I will say no, because I thought Kim was far enough along in her career that she wouldn't move somewhere else this late in her career. And I'm not trying to say she's old, because we're about the same age. She's actually a little younger than I am. But, yeah, I didn't see her making that move. Now, granted, I think this probably was the one place where she would move at this point in her career, or maybe ever, that she would move for, was to go back home to Louisiana, to LSU, and a chance to revitalize a program that really, it really hadn't been very good, or certainly to the level she would, I'm sure, like to take it to, since really they played them, in the national tournament back in 2005 in the semifinals.
For those that are just joining us, Jerry Hill, Baylor Bear Insider, on the show today. Jerry, along with that, you got Mulkey going back home to LSU. One of the things, she's done some interviews with Matt Mosley and those locally, and one of the things that I've really appreciated about the entire situation is the kind words that she's had to say about Baylor, her time at Baylor. Kramer said the same thing to us on our show. And one of the remarks that they both kind of touched on is her being able to come back, whether it be in that Naismith trophy or the Naismith Hall of Fame ceremony, or whether it be past that 20 years from now when they honor her some way at Baylor University, and just have those clean ties with one another and still a relationship. Is that something that you foresee being in the works, or that you want to see those two being mutual partners for years to come? Absolutely.
I mean, when you think about and Coach Collins said it in her introductory press conference. When you think about Baylor women's basketball, Lady Bear basketball, you think of Kim Mulkey. They're kind of synonymous, and basically the same way too. when you think of Kim Mulkey, you think Baylor basketball. Maybe that changes over the next 5 years or whatever when she takes, when she does really well at LSU. But no, I think certainly, and she's already in the Hall of Fame, Drake. I mean, she's already in the Baylor Hall of Fame. And she has recognized, or she recognizes, that she's going into the Naismith Hall of Fame because of what she did at Baylor. She had 21 unbelievable years here, won 3 national championships, and 23, I think, combined, Big 12 championships between the tourney and regular season. So, yeah, I mean, certainly what she did here, it's going to hard for anybody to duplicate, and certainly needs to be recognized. Like I said, she's already in the Baylor Hall of Fame. Maybe you do at some point, recognize her in terms of the court or a statue or something, because she deserves it, honestly. I mean, with what she did with a program that, she took from last to first in a short period of time. I mean, they were last place in the Big 12 when she came in. I think they won like 9 games, something like that the year before. And then she won 20 pretty much every year. Absolutely. And so she got them in the NCAA tournament in her first year. They had never been, and she took them to the NCAA tournament in her first year. So yeah, unbelievable what she's done. And Drake, I think what people need to recognize too is, because there was, I sensed, whether it was on Twitter, Facebook, or whatever, I think there were some fans that were mad, and I can understand that because she was here 21 years. But I think as fans, we also need to recognize that, she gave us 21 years. She's from Louisiana, and she gave us 21 years, and look at what she did with this program. So don't ever hate Kim Mulkey. Recognize what she did and thank her for what she did. Because there should be no hate, and really either way, I don't think there should be hate either way. But man, unbelievable what she was able to do with that program.
I tell you, somebody tweeted out right after and said, listen, anybody that lives in Waco for 15 years has every right to go and do whatever they please after that 15 years is up for you. And it's certainly applicable here. Jerry, going into the coaching search, you got Mack Rhoades putting together his search committee. And if there's one thing that we've learned about Mack Rhoades, it's that he is synonymous with the word lockbox when it comes to coaching hires. There's no information that gets out of that search until the day the hire is made. And that was obviously, it also checked out here. There's the same thing here in this coaching search. How vital is that from a university standpoint to have an athletic director, a search committee that keeps things so on lock?
Yeah, and Drake, of course, I've only dealt basically with one university, but I've never seen this where an AD is able to just kind of bunker down and really just nothing leak out. Now, and that's not just from Mack, that's from everybody on that search committee. That's with everybody within the university that, had any. Now, I did not have any knowledge at all, but I'm just saying, for that to be that locked down and that quiet, and it wasn't a real long time. But I even go back to Matt Rhule. Matt Rhule's name wasn't even out there. There was nobody that had Matt Rhule's name when Mack hired him. Same thing. Dave Aranda's name may have popped up, but I don't remember much about him either. And then same thing with Nicki Collen. There were a lot of names being floated out there, and here they're going to look this way. This is a coaching candidate. I don't know about you, but I never heard Nicki Collen's name. It's amazing what he's able to do. And like I said, I think it goes beyond Mack. It goes to the rest of the staff. It goes to that search committee that they're able to, kind of keep their mouths shut until the moment. And I think it is vital. It allows them to do their job and kind of do due diligence and get it done without any smoke coming out. And that's exactly what you've gotten from Mack on any of these big hires is there's no smoke. I mean, you may see some or you may think you see some, but there's no smoke until right when it's announced. Nothing against David Smoke, by the way, but
Well, Jerry, I'll tell you, I wholly believe, despite everything that Mac has said, despite everything the search committee said, he hired Nicki Collen probably like the Tuesday before and just started sending airplanes and phone calls out just so folks could track them. And I mean, there are folks tracking airplanes that had probably no one on that Mac just sent out as a decoy. But obviously, Nicki Collen gets the hire. The reaction immediately from fans was interesting. There's a lot on both sides. And I knew it seemed like the press conference for Collen would be huge on winning the fan base. I don't know that any coach's A1 goal is to win a fan base in a press conference. It shouldn't be about that. I don't think Collen's was, but she did it anyway. From what I saw. For you, I know that you worked for the Lariat during the, you've been there since what? You covered the Immortal 10 for the Lariat, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, right. That's right.
So you've seen your fair share of coaching opening press conferences. Along with that, where do you put Nicki Collen? What was your assessment of her opener?
Well, and here's the thing, Drake, and I'll give her all the credit for this, is she acknowledged Kim. And I thought that was big because I think coming into that position, you have to. It's, as she said, and it may have been during my one-on-one time with her, it's a daunting task. That is a daunting task to follow a Hall of Fame coach, that this program is Kim Mulkey. Kim Mulkey is this program, and that's what she's following. But she acknowledged her, and honestly, she's not here without Kim Mulkey. Like, if Kim Mulkey hadn't built this or created this monster, Nicki Collen's not here. She's not leaving the WNBA. She's not leaving the Atlanta Dream for this job. She wouldn't have left for what Kim came in 2000 when, like I said, they won like 7 games the year before. So the fact that she did that, and that helped her win over that fan base, because you know what? That fan base loves them some Kim Mulkey, and rightfully so, again. But yes, I thought she knocked it out of the park. And if you want me to compare, it's as good as I've been to, honestly. And I'm talking about going back to my Waco Trib days when I would, cover different press conferences. I think she did as good a job as you can do in an opening press conference. And honestly, a lot of it came down to that honesty. She was honest about her feelings. She was honest about herself. She was humble about herself. But then at the end, she did say, because I think you asked the question, she's confident. She's a very confident person, a very confident coach. And I think you could see that come out in her. Yes, you have the humility, but by God, she's confident too.
Confidence without an ego. You can see it.
Right.
Confidence without an ego. Jerry, along with that, she talked about coming into this program and trying to sustain success and not being Kim Mulkey, building her own.
Right.
What does it take? I mean, you're looking, well, before I ask that, though, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, because I do want to know. For those that weren't here 20, 25 years ago, I know you've been covering, not since the Immortal 10, but you've been covering Baylor athletics for a while.
Yeah.
It was unthinkable to have a coach leave the pros in any sport to come coach at Baylor in any sport, or to go from Baylor, a la Matt Rule, and coach in the pros. How vastly different is this in juxtaposition to where the athletic program was 25 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, Drake, you got to go really far back to even see a time when a sitting head coach at Baylor went somewhere else to be a head coach. And certainly, I mean, there were a few cases where a head coach came here, but you would never see that time where, like, and Grant Taft, when he was here, he had a few chances. USC came calling and this and that. But no, you didn't have those situations at all. I do think the WNBA is a little different. I mean, obviously it doesn't have the dollar value and stuff of the NFL, the NBA. It's sponsored by the NBA. So I think there's a little bit of a different thing there in terms of it's not the same as, say, an NFL coach coming to Baylor to be the football team's coach, or even an NBA coach coming to Baylor to be the basketball coach. So I think there is a little difference there. And even in terms of money, I haven't seen anything on her contract, but I guarantee you she's making more money here than she did at Atlanta. But yeah, you're right. I mean, you just did not see that kind of thing. And so in a span of less than 2 years, you've seen a Baylor coach go to the pros and a pro coach come to Baylor. So interesting that you've had that dynamic here, twice in less than 2 years.
Yeah. Along with it, Jerry, the hiring of Nicki Collen, her coming WNBA Coach of the Year in 2018, a great collegiate career, too, along with her husband, and then going with Carl Smesko at Florida Gulf Coast. She was at Colorado State with a star-studded staff, too, Reagan Peebley being there, and then Coach Miller as well, who's with the Sun now. All that put together, there are different parts, X's and O's pieces that make me confident that Nicki Collen will win at Baylor. What is it that makes you confident in the same?
Yeah, and I think there was some question about her resume in terms of, the lack of head coaching experience on the college level. Guess what? Kim Mulkey had zero. She had zero head coaching experience, period, when she came here. And I probably shouldn't compare them, but Kim had been at Louisiana Tech for 15 years, had never been at another, school. So all of her experience came from Louisiana Tech, and she had 15 years as an associate head coach, I think at one point, but 15 years at Louisiana Tech. Nicki Collen has 14 years coaching experience, including 3 years as a head coach on the pro level. And then, like you said, 9 years as a college assistant and 2 years at Connecticut in the WNBA as well. So she's had 5 years pro experience. I think it is that experience that she's had, and I think it's that confidence that she has. I can certainly feed off of that. I feel like if she's that confident, she's going to get it done, and she has gotten it done at different levels. Like you said, 3 years ago, she was the WNBA Coach of the Year in her first year as a head coach. So I have every confidence that she can do it at Baylor, and certainly we know a big part of that will be her ability to recruit and bring in a staff, and then be able to recruit and keep bringing in these players that Kim and her staff had done such a great job of building that, talent base that you've got right now. You're sitting here right now. I think Kim said in her interview with Matt Mosley, this is a top 5 team. She didn't leave the cupboard bare. So I think as long as you kind of keep those pieces together, you're talking about a top 5, top 10 team that she's walking into. Now, what do you do from there? How do you take it from there? So, yeah, I think I do. I have confidence that she's going to get it done here.
Well, Jerry, there's still so much to be seen going into this offseason. I know she retained. We're running out of time, but I got to sneak this one in here. Andy Thomas is at 12:05. We're gonna he'll understand. Andy Thomas will understand. Coach Hefner coming back. Jeremy Hefner, who joins the show today at 12:30. How big of a recruiting win is that for Coach Collen, and what does that show? What does that say about her bringing him back, retaining him on the staff?
And I think it says that she acknowledges what Jeremy has done, in 2 different stints at Baylor. He came back after going to Tyler for a couple of years. So great for Jeremy. I actually reached out to him yesterday and said, hey, man, congrats. Glad you're sticking around. And, he thanked me, but he, in all caps, he said, me too, meaning he's very excited about being here. And so, I think great win for Nicki. And, and I think, too, that's great for those players that have been here. They know Jeremy. They spend probably as much time, if not more, and particularly right now, they're going to spend more time with Jeremy Hefner than they will with Nicki Collen. So I think it is a huge win for her, and great for the program, great for Jeremy and his wife, Carly, that they get to stay in Waco and be a part of this program.
I love it. Jerry, thanks for all your perspective on Nicki Collen, Kim Mulkey leaving this hire, and where Baylor women's basketball is now. Before we get you out of here, our Bear Games question of the day. Baylor baseball put up a 17 spot on Sunday. So on Monday, we asked your most demoralizing loss. On Tuesday, we asked your most triumphant victory, or the biggest blowout you've been a part of on the winning side. And today we're asking your greatest individual performance in an athletic event ever. Jerry, tell me you got you dropped a 50-piece in Little League Baseball. Give me something, Jerry.
Okay, I will give you this one. And the golf course isn't even open anymore. But I had a hole-in-one there was a course here in town, James Conley Golf Course. And it was a par 3. It was legit. It wasn't like one of these 100-yard. It was 183 yards. And I hit every bit of a 3-iron and made a hole-in-one. So I would say that's my number one athletic achievement. Beyond that, it was placing 8th in the district track meet in a JV, junior varsity track meet, or cross-country meet, as a senior. So I'll go with the hole-in-one over that one.
Yeah, I think locking in the hole-in-one, although there is no video evidence. Is there?
There is no video evidence, but I do have witnesses. So there are people that will vouch for me.
We can corroborate it at least. Jerry,
Yes.
thanks so much for joining the show today and bringing the perspective from the Baylor side. Always a pleasure.
Thanks, Drake. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Again, that was Jerry Hill, Baylor Bear insider, joining the show today to talk about Nicki Collen, Baylor women's basketball, and the state of Baylor women's basketball moving forward, along with the coaching hire and retaining Coach Jeremy Hefner, who joins our show at 12.